Welcome back to Fox Eyes on the Hill Live this Sunday morning. He served 22 years in the U.S. Army with 6 deployments in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And now Eddie Garcia wants to try politics and is vying for the U.S. Senate seat currently occupied by U.S. Senator Tim Kaine. We will be inviting Senator Kaine back on this program as well. But for now, we want to speak with Eddie Garcia to talk about his candidacy. Your experience is in the military. It's been in combat. What about the Senate appeals to you, and what experience do you have that would translate from one to the other?
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. I would tell you, I was born and raised in a small country town down in South Texas, and so I come from 4 generations of Army veterans. And so at 17, I joined the military. And for the next 22 years, I've served our nation all around the world. So you mentioned my deployments. I have 3 to Iraq, 3 to Afghanistan. I've had the opportunity to work at some high levels of federal government. And so now I'm 41 and retired from the military, and I'm focused back on service. I feel called to serve once again, but this time serving that same community that I come from, working class communities.
What kind of Republican are you?
I'm a Garcia Republican. I'm a blue collar, no collar. It's a blue collar, no collar, working family man who's trying to live their daily life and lift themselves up and achieve the American dream that I think that a lot of people are feeling is slipping away from them.
There's a number of issues, right, on the national and the local stage. Let's talk about those.
Sure.
Obviously, in the wake of the Dobbs decision, abortion and women's reproductive rights has become a centerpiece for a lot of voters in this country. Where do you stand on Dobbs, and where do you stand on the issue of abortion?
I'm pro-life. Well, I say I'm pro-life for the whole life. I believe in that we should be protecting life from the very beginning until the very end. And I mentioned the very end a lot of times from my Republican counterparts because we tend to be seen as a pro-birth party, not the pro-life party. And so I talk to a lot of elderly that are struggling in the twilight years. And so I'm really focused on hopefully being able to provide the advocacy necessary and the health care necessary and also the tax cuts necessary for elderly people and their retirement accounts to help them retire with dignity. Life is an important issue for a lot of people. I think we need to look at it holistically, and I'm a pro-life candidate.
There is an issue right now that the Commonwealth of Virginia is battling the state of Maryland for the new FBI headquarters.
Yeah.
The current head of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, the other day tweeted that the FBI shouldn't be getting a new headquarters because he has questions about how the FBI has operated. Where do you stand on that? I mean, do you think that the FBI deserves a new headquarters, and do you want that headquarters in Virginia?
Well, we definitely want the headquarters in Virginia. I mean, we're talking about 75,000 jobs. I just told you I'm a blue-collar advocate. I come from a small working-class family. These are the types of jobs, and those are the type of communities that are helped and lifted and have opportunity with some kind of construction in Virginia. I mean, the Hoover building I'm tracking is nearly 50 years old. And so they're going to have to go somewhere. We want those jobs. We want that workforce employment in Virginia. I'm willing to stand and fight for that to make sure that we have workers that are put to work and that are able to succeed.
Let's talk about the economy right now, because
Sure.
obviously over the last couple of years and with the pandemic, there's been problems with that. What is a priority for you? What is the one thing as a senator you could do to help people in their pocketbooks in Virginia?
Well, for one, we could reduce taxes on the average middle class.
Should we raise taxes on those at the higher end of the income level, though?
Well, I'm not a fan of raising taxes, but you're going to have to come to an agreement and compromise regardless of the process. And so to get money back into the pockets of average Americans, we got to reduce regulations, we got to reduce taxes on the middle class, working class, and we also need to grow jobs. I spent a lot of my time in rural Virginia talking about the hollowing out of the American rural small town. And so that's near and dear to my heart. That's where I come from. Those are the types of people that I grew up with, that I associate myself with, and that I care about. And so I think when we're able to incentivize jobs to be created here in America for the future workforce, bringing them back from overseas or starting them from the ground up right here, that's going to be a positive.
Eddie Garcia, he's a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate and Commonwealth of Virginia. We appreciate your service, and we thank you for joining us here to talk about your candidacy.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
All right, we've got much more coming up for you.